What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Java tutorial video. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys loops, and in this specific case, the for loop. As the name suggests, loops are used to repeat the execution of a certain block of code as many times as we want it to. The for loop in this case is called a for loop because once the loop begins, it only stops once a particular condition, which we define, is satisfied. So first, let's talk about the syntax of the for loop. We use the Java keyword for to let the compiler know we are making a for loop. Follow that with just a space, and then parentheses, and then braces. Now for its parameters. The for loop takes three expressions inside of its parameters: the initialization expression, the termination expression, and the increment expression. So let's go into our parentheses and make these. So firstly, the initialization expression initializes the loop and a local variable. It's only executed once, and that's when the loop begins. So since we've dealt with initializing variables, you should know how to do this. So just declare what data type, followed by the identifier, and then assign that to a value of whatever you want. But in this case, for simplicity, we're going to be making it 0. Now in order to space the expressions apart, we use a semicolon. The termination expression is used to tell the for loop when to stop. When this expression evaluates to false, the loop is terminated. So let's just do I when I is less than 10. And then separate that with a semicolon. And lastly, the increment expression is invoked after each iteration through the loop. So when Java checks if the termination expression is true or false, and it turns out to be true, it does what the increment expression tells it to do. And in this case, we're going to increase the value of I by 1. And in order to dictate that, we just type the name of our variable followed by 2 plus signs, and that'll increment it by a value of 1. If we wanted to increment it by a value of 2, the syntax for that is just plus equal, and then followed by any number we want it to. So this will increment I by 2, this will increment it by 3, but for this case, we're just going to increment it by 1. So for simplicity's sake, just do I++. Let's just have this program print out our name 10 times, so you guys know how to do that. We just do system.out.println, and just type a string of our name, so Michael. And then once we hit run, the program runs and it prints our name 10 times. So there it works. Now let me go into a bit more detail explaining how this exactly works. So how this works, when you run this program, it looks for the main method and it finds it in the launcher class because we have dictated the main method to be inside of here. So once it finds the main method, it executes every single line of code inside of that. So it goes down, 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 and then it encounters the for loop. So once it encounters the for loop, it initializes the local variable, which in this case we declared it to be I, and assigns it the value of 0. So that's all said and done. Now it moves on to the second expression, the termination expression. And remember, when this expression turns out to be false, it turns off the whole loop and just leaves it. But since I is 0, and 0 is less than 10, it evaluates to being true. So it goes past this and then moves on to the increment expression. And it does whatever we tell it to inside of this to the variable. So it increases it by 1. And then it executes every single line of code in here. After that, since this is in fact a loop, it goes back up into the parentheses. But remember, it doesn't perform this execution once again because that only occurs once when the loop is initiated, so it skips the initialization expression and goes directly into the termination expression. Now remember, I is 1 now because we incremented it by a value of 1, so I is 1 right here. Is 1 less than 10? That is true. So it goes on to the increment expression and does whatever we tell it to in this, so it increments it by another value of 1. So it's 2 now. So yada yada yada, it performs every single line of code inside the for loop, and then it goes back, 3 less than 10, that's true. 4 is less than 10, true. But once it gets to 10 and it evaluates it to being false, it says, okay, we're done with this for loop, so we're going to execute this code one last time and then leave the for loop. So when I is 10, the termination expression evaluates to false, it doesn't increment it by another value, and it just finishes off the for loop with executing this line of code one last time and then terminates the whole for loop. So that's the for loop. Hopefully you understand it. It may be quite confusing at first, but once you do it 100 times, it's going to be like cake. So I hope you guys understand that. If you have any questions, just leave them down in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more Java tutorials in the future. So, till next time, peace.